All right, guys, welcome back to Chasing Rings, the podcast. We got Kyle, Luke, myself, Victor. We are missing Big Joe today. We're all a little disappointed, but he's working, and we owe you guys a lot of content. There's a ton to talk about. Guys, we know that NFL just jumped off into free agency, been a bunch of trades. NBA just had the trade deadline, but we get the Red Sox kicking off on April 1st, so let's jump right into them, guys. A lot of question marks going into the season about lineups. I think, we've talked about it in the past. We're all pretty happy with some of the offseason moves. At least they did something. They really cleared a lot of cap space. Maybe that means there's big moves coming next year, later this year, who knows? But there's still question marks about the lineup. So let's talk about that a little bit, guys. So when you look at first base right now in the Red Sox depth chart, they got Bobby Dahlbeck, who's murdering it all offseason. He's, 25, 26 years old. You got Chavis having a pretty good preseason as well. He's 25, 26 years old. So we got to figure out how both of those guys are going to play. It makes sense. So do you guys see Dahlbeck playing first, Chavis playing first? Is one going to the outfield? What are you guys thinking right now?
I'd assume one goes to the outfield just because of the toss-up for that, left field or right field position, depending on what you think. But, I feel like you have to start both, right? You have to give both.
Just the bats.
The youth away, youth alone, and the fact that I think Chavis gets a little bump because he's been on the team, and also Chavis can play multiple positions. I think he's played second too, so we have some freedom there with putting him in the lineup in certain scenarios.
Do we think that first base, second base, and the third outfield position is going to be a platoon thing? Because then we look at second, and like you said, Chavis can play second. We have Kiki Hernandez that can play outfield and second. Dahlbeck has played a little outfield. Franchi Cordero's played. There's a lot going on.
Kiki's going to be like a Brock Holt kind of.
Do you think so?
Wherever you need him, he's going to go.
Knife,
I think, I don't know if Chavis has played outfield in the leagues?
Maybe in a few games. I think Chavis is second base. I think Dahlbeck's first. I think that's how I see it in the depth chart. I think that's how the depth chart sort of sees it on ESPN and MLB. I think that makes most sense. And just based on the amount of games he's played there, it makes sense.
See, for me, that worries me because Bogaerts is one of the best overall shortstops in the league. Yeah. Imagine Chavis is a little sketchy.
Chemistry is important between shortstop and second.
And Chavis is a little sketchy. And if Bogaerts is, diving to his backhand, flipping a double play, and Chavis can't get the ball out of his glove consistently, is that going to throw Xander off his game?
He's played it before, and they've played together before. It's I definitely understand the chemistry aspect of it, but also, this year's a wash. Whether we lose a shitload of games or win a shitload of games, this is the first year, ideally, in a trip to continue to improve and make it a championship, a dynasty like Tampa Bay became with all their young talent. So, I think you have to, just like we were with the Patriots, or not Kyle this year, but just like most of us were with the Patriots, you have to give a little bit and let them take a little bit of what the season could be.
Yeah, I've had some time to reflect. Okay, so I was a little too critical of the season.
No, it certainly feels like, and not that it really matters, but we have our guy back. We get Alex Cora back. And I don't want to say he's the greatest coach in MLB history because he went 1-for-1 and won a World Series, but he brought a locker room chemistry. One, because he was a great locker room guy. He was always a utility guy that when he had opportunities, he played well. But he's just a great guy to have in the locker room, and he's bringing that mentality as a manager now. And all of a sudden, we have a very Hispanic team. And I think that bodes really well from our regular clubhouse leaders with Bogaerts, Devers, Vasquez, and then you have Alex Cora, and then you keep building JD Martinez. You bring in Marwin Gonzalez, Franchi Cordero. You're bringing a lot of these, Verdugo, Kiki Hernandez, a lot of Spanish dudes. And I think that's going to be the modern day Cowboy up, where Kevin Millar wasn't a great player, but he just he was part of the team, and his home runs were every time he hit one, it was a game-changing grand slam.
He was clutch, and he was a leader too.
Yeah, so it's bringing in this atmosphere with baseball. Because bottom line, every single guy on every single MLB roster was the best player in their high school town, was the best player potentially in their district in high school. So they all have potential to be a good MLB player, right? Obviously, we know there's levels of potential and prospects coming out. Yeah. But when you really play a sport like baseball, it's all about the feel, the vibe. You showing up to the field and you're it's another day, baby, let's go. We've seen years in the past with the Red Sox where it's I get to play baseball today. And I think this year we're going to see these guys, and I know it's weird to say because for the last 5 years we've seen Mookie, Benintendi, and JBJ with their photo shoots. Yeah. But this is going to be a different vibe, and I really hope it clicks. So let's look at the outfield a little bit, guys. And we were just talking about it. I miss Hunter Renfroe. You know, as we were just talking about it. So I personally think Verdugo is going to play right field. He's been here longer than the other guys.
And we saw it a little bit last year.
And
we saw it last year. Not a
it's
little bit.
we know center field and right field in Fenway are two of the hardest positional fields in the entire major league.
Even left field with the monster. I mean,
It's a little weird.
Really, the outfield in Fenway is challenging. Like it's great, but it's even the triangle in center field too. It's like
And then the way right field, it goes from like 330 in dead right field, and then hard right field, it's like 400. It just it really is a weird field to play.
It's a great ballpark.
We don't have another center fielder right now. Depth chart. I'm looking at MLB.com. It goes from left to right. We have potentially Renfroe, Verdugo, and Franchy Cordero, which is I like Franchy personally, but I think it's going to be from left to right. I think it's going to be Marwin, Verdugo, and Renfroe. Right. I think that's
had a really good spring too.
I know. Honestly, the entire team has looked pretty solid. A lot of our pitchers have done really well. I'm very excited for the season because it's something new. It's like a refresh. You know, it's almost like no one wanted to see Tom Brady leave the Patriots, but it's like this is something new. Like it's new and exciting. It's not the same expectations.
We dumped Mookie. I mean, our pitching staff sort of redone too, besides Erod and Sale, who's injured. But I mean, I'm missing someone too.
And Evaldi.
Evaldi, thank you.
While you bring that up, though, the one big question mark I still have is pitching still concerns me because I'm worried. The lineup, I think, no problem, is going to be one of the best lineups in baseball.
Yeah.
Let's touch on the pitching. Let's lock down this outfield.
Okay.
So, I personally think because right field is harder to play at Fenway than center field, I think Verdugo's taking right field. Personally. Just because I think it's harder, it's bigger, it takes a big arm too. When you're out in that corner, you need a big arm to get that ball in. So that's why I think Verdugo's taking right field, and he's been here a little bit longer. I'm guessing Renfroe or Fran. Either way, I think it's. Do we all agree? I think it's Franchy, Renfroe, and Verdugo. But I wouldn't be surprised, and I want to ask you guys this: do you think JD ends up playing more outfield for us this year than we've seen him in the past, and other guys get spots at DH?
I don't. I think we're deep at outfield. To be honest, I don't think so. But I also disagree with Verdugo and right. Just from the sake of, like you said, right field is one of the hardest positions, and it is. But center field, we have a deep center field too.
Yeah.
And we have those corners out there, and we have the weird angles, and I think we need speed, and we've seen that with JB. So I think we need speed in center field, and I think Verdugo is the fastest outfielder we have right now. Like from just that perspective, it has to be Verdugo.
So you put him in center?
I put Verdugo in center, yeah.
Who do you have in right?
In right, I would have Renfroe.
Renfroe.
Yeah, and then either Franchy or Marwin Gonzalez in left. Yeah.
Okay.
I forgot that JD's an outfielder too because he doesn't have the build of an outfielder really. He's a big dude. So you think he's like a first baseman or something?
I think it's very cool that our 7 through like 11, maybe 12 guys are all going to be solid MLB players for us this year. I don't think any of them will be stellar, but none of them are going to be locked in. Like Jackie Bradley, he's a career 220, if not less hitter, but he's a Gold Glove center fielder. You can never take him out of the lineup because it's Gold Glove in center field. But now we can really play the matchup game. We can really take the nerd analytics of baseball and say, this guy hits a curveball better off a left-hander than that guy, so he's going to start today, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
We can really get nerdy with the 7, 8, 9 guys. Maybe it's, the 8 and 9 guys. But I think we have that depth. We have 5 outfielders that are serviceable. We have first and second base. We have 3 or 4 guys that can kind of move around those positions. I think that's going to be really unique. The question is, and we talked about this with Brad Stevens, is it going to be overwhelming?
Is trying to versatility.
Trying to find, like, are you going to be guessing too much?
It's not really. So Brad, if we look at the Celtics, like Brad Stevens doesn't have any versatility because we have no bench. So like here we have multiple players that can play multiple positions. Like it.
But you know what I'm saying? Like you have to think
guess,
about game to game who your lineup is. It's not a set 9. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think that's good too because again, baseball is 162 games and it's going to be a full season this year. So that depth is hopefully. Yeah.
I think they'll be fine.
Knock on wood, but that depth is very important. And I think that you can see some days where JD's in left field and Kiki's at second and Chavez is DHing or something like that. Like depends on who. Maybe someone gets a hot bat. You don't want to take him on the lineup. Perfect. Pop him into DH. Move JD to left. You can play the monster. Like it's not that hard, right? Like in theory, you just if the ball's gonna hit the monster, you just wait for it to hit. and you pick it up and throw it in. So
Yeah, but it's always Korean in like different ways.
yeah,
Sometimes it dies,
but
sometimes it
that's
goes
why you have
right.
Verdugo in center to pick up the slack. So I think we have a lot of potential to make an impact in the division that people might not expect.
I mean, at the end of the day, the Yankees are maxed out on salary, and it's either like a put up or shut up type
But
thing. And
haven't they been maxed out?
Yeah, they've been struggling.
They haven't won a
with
title in
that.
over a decade.
That's what
Every
I'm-
year they're like.
so that's kind of my point. I think the last time they won was 09. So it's like they're in a put up or shut up thing, but they're always in a put up or shut up. You know, they're
still
maxed
have one
out
of
Judge,
the
Stanley,
strongest farm system still.
and you know they just keep stacking up with pitchers, and like they get better and better and on the roster. But can you manage it, right? There's still a lot of question marks about whether they can manage it or not. So let's talk about our pitching staff, which you want to bring up. So, you know, we added some bullpen depth, we added some starters. All of them are really, I don't want to say question marks, but they all seem like they're going to be solid guys. So the question is, and I'll ask you guys this, do you think for us to win, call it 90 games, which is a solid year, for us to win 90 games, do you think our offense needs to carry us or our pitching staff?
100% pitching.
Mhm.
And it's more, and so my concern with pitching, and it might be with baseball in general, is like, where are we going with starting pitching? Because it used to be you have 5 rotations and you have 5 strong starters and you have that 6th sort of long reliever that can fill in if someone gets injured or whatever. Yeah. And now it's like, it really is just pitcher by committee on a lot of games. We saw that with the Red Sox too. Like, and that, I don't understand that, like, go 4 innings, go 5 innings, and then get pulled. And maybe it's because the game's changing, and maybe it's because their pitchers aren't that good, so, like, their pitch counts are getting up there. But I'm praying that we have at least 4 solid starters this year that are healthy in rotation, and that we define a closing pitcher and a setup man, and we leave that consistently, and that they both perform. Like, if you have too much, not versatility, but if you have too much movement in the pitching rotation, I think it really, really hurts.
I don't think there's many aces in baseball in general lately. Like you got like the Scherzers and then like Verlander. I think is he still?
He's fallen off.
He's still
Who's the guy who just went to the Yankees? Garrett.
Garrett Cole.
Garrett Cole. You know, like there's only a few.
He's still
He
like,
struggled last year.
Yeah,
he
but
was.
it was a COVID year. But like I'm just looking at last year's Red Sox, right? And I think we were second in average. We were 12th in home runs, second in doubles last year. So who did we really lose? Jackie Bradley, who cares? Andrew Benintendi had a down year. So I think our offense is going to be right there with the top 5 in the league
I
again.
agree.
So I kind of agree with you guys that it's a lot is on the pitching staff. In knowing that our offense is that good, we don't need our pitching to be elite.
No.
We just need them to be consistent and solid. Like we need to, if you're going to let up 4 runs a game, that's fine. We just need to eliminate those 7, 8, 9 run games. We need to be able to get into the 3rd inning, get our lineup up a second time, and not be out of the game already.
Yeah.
You know, if it's 6-7 nothing because Garrett Richards can't get out of the 1st inning, the game's over. That's when you lose that. That's that whole I'm playing baseball today. I'm excited to play baseball. Where it's like
lose all momentum.
I gotta hit again in 2 innings. That sucks. You know, so I think that's important. So looking at it now, Chris Sale is out probably until June-ish.
Probably earliest, I would say.
Earliest. Garrett Richards has looked solid. Pavetta's looked solid. Andres. I mean, all these guys have looked solid all spring. But the biggest dagger right now is the news we got yesterday. Is Eddie Rodriguez has dead arm again. Guys, what is going on with the Red Sox training staff? Like, is that a mismanagement or is Eddie Rodriguez the next Clay Buchholz?
I think it's I don't even know. I mean, he's coming back from almost a year off of baseball for like heart-related stuff, and I'm sure he hasn't thrown a lot like until recently. So yeah, I think it's a mismanagement. I think they should have taken their time with him. Sort of what I said about Kemba, right, with the knee, even though that hasn't bitten us in the ass yet, besides the no back-to-backs. Yeah, but like
He won't be playing tonight.
I mean, Erod's looked great though. That's the thing. Like
Yeah, he's
looked
3-0 with a
amazing.
2.63, 13 innings pitched, 15 strikeouts. So he's averaging a little over a strikeout per inning. But my concern is, guys, is every year we're kind of like, well, we got Erod coming back. Every year we say we got Erod coming
They did
back.
the same thing to Chris Sale, where it's like they signed into a deal, and it's like I know he's had surgery, but it's like he hasn't been able to stay on the field, and it's like, okay, is that the injury, or now I'm starting to see like, is that the Red Sox pitching?
Are we
staff?
mismanaging?
Are they overthrowing or overpitching?
Yeah, like Clay Buchholz. I mean, if you're a true baseball like snob, like passionate baseball person. You watch Clay Buchholz throw, he literally was like a Pedro. The way he could paint corners, the way he could throw different pitches, his sliders, his cutters. He has a career no-hitter. I mean, the way he could move the ball was so good, but he'd have 5 good games, go in the 30-day. Have 5 good games, go in the 30-day.
Yeah.
We're seeing that again with Eddie Rodriguez. I truly think that if we get him on the field, he needs to be traded.
Wow.
If he's 5-0 to start the season and he's at a 3.0, sell him.
Wow.
You want to sell high?
Sell high. He's 28 years old.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I don't know if we're winning this year. I really like what we've done this year, and I think we could potentially find that cowboy up chemistry and make a run. I'm not saying I'm out on it, but talent-wise, looking at the roster, it's still a little bit, of a question mark.
Transitional year.
Potentially, and it could be. If we're 500 or better, I mean, 500 in baseball is typically good, which sounds crazy. But typically, if you're 80 and 80 or 81 and 81 in baseball, you're just outside making the playoffs.
Like the A's a few years ago before they got good. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, like you make the playoffs with 86 wins. A lot of
Baseball is
seasons,
so
which is
weird,
crazy.
though.
5 games over 500, you make the
I
playoffs.
feel like baseball is the one sport where like the Royals were they went to back-to-back World Series, I think,
Yep.
and won one, and now they've been like a
They're
rebuild
gone.
team.
Yeah.
Baseball, like you can go. The Red Sox, particularly, they've gone worst to first or first to worst like every year. So it's like
4 times in like 20 years now, almost.
Yeah.
So, look at Erod. He's 28 years old next week. Usually 30 is like your prime of pitching because you've really developed your game, your arm's at full strength. This guy has never had a full strength arm, and it scares me.
19-6 in 2019. ERA is 3.81. So like in today's game, pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a good
I
season.
mean, I remember like
Especially for a second, third starter.
we grew up with
Yeah.
like Pedro Racer on like sub 2 ERA.
Yeah.
Those are like franchise
Hall of
pitchers.
Fame.
Yeah.
Hall of Fame pitchers. You don't run into those everywhere.
I think isn't he part of the pitching staff now, Pedro?
Pedro's always been involved with the team, but how much
So-
is
I do want to give a
work,
quick
yeah.
shout out to I think the broadcast booth this year. They brought in Papelbon, they brought in Euclid.
Yeah.
They're kind of like halfway.
Oh,
they're kind of
really?
great. Yeah,
Oh, that's dope.
they,
Yeah, I
they
didn't know
just
that.
signed them
That's
on
cool.
like a couple weeks ago, I think. And so like,
And
they're kind of
Veritek's been on the staff. Martina's been on the staff. I mean, I think that's really cool, and I think it'll be great for the kind of this new younger team to really show them what like Red Sox baseball is about. Because we haven't had like that ballsy chemistry, fun Red Sox team. I feel like we've had a bunch of overpaid babies in a sense, and I know Mookie wasn't overpaid and Jackie wasn't overpaid.
You don't think
They
so?
weren't overpaid.
2018 though, you don't think? Because that
But-
team was like a freight train.
But they were, of course, and they were good, and we won. And I'm not discrediting that, but they were all talent and no grit.
That's what happens when you do these one and done rosters though, is that you
Yeah.
have no chemistry. So like you're basically just
Relying on the talent.
2013
you're buying a bunch of artillery. Right?
It reminds me of the
one
first
battle.
year of the
That's all
Miami
you're doing.
Heat teaming up. It's like
Yeah.
it looked really good some games, and other games it didn't. Other games D Wade wasn't high fiving LeBron because they hated each other that game. It just the talent doesn't always win, and we've seen that in the past.
Saw that with the Clippers last year.
Yeah,
I will say the 2013 team is one of my favorite teams because they were just the chemistry worked. It was
Yeah.
like lightning in a bottle, but it's like
It is that's exactly what it is.
That's
It's
what I feel like
lightning in a
baseball
bottle.
is.
It can change everything with a
Mhm.
season and with a team. Like it can make you go from average to great.
yeah. Talent doesn't buy wins in baseball.
It's hard.
I
And-
mean, they had Shane Victorino towards the end of his career. They
Yeah.
had Koji was awesome, but then they had Johnny Gomes too. Like these guys that like didn't really do much on other teams, and they all just came together. They cowboyed up. Like
Exactly. So that's what I'm looking for this year. I think the chemistry and the leadership is the most important thing this year. So I want to ask you guys right now. 81 and 81 is 500. I'm going to say over under 81 wins and give me a number. And do they make the playoffs?
baseball is.
I'm gonna do 89.
And they make the playoffs?
I'll do 89. I think they're gonna make the playoffs. I don't know what their record's gonna be. I'll say 91. Yes, make the playoffs. 91 make the playoffs.
Taking down the East or the wild card?
Wild card most likely.
Yeah, because think about it, we got the Yankees and then like I don't know, you got the Rays and the Blue Jays. Like I feel like the East is always competitive.
Yeah.
Even the Orioles. No, I'm not gonna go down there. I was thinking like 89. Like I think they're gonna do. I think it's a weird year where they're gonna be better than average, but the pitching really worries me. So I think that's gonna knock them down a peg.
I'm going to go 93. And they're going to win the East, and I'm going to tell you why. I think we have the cap space, and I truly believe in that we have the... Huh?
Think they're gonna make another move?
I think Time has the opportunity to make moves, and I think we have some sellable pieces if we need to. And I also think that we have some low-key farm guys that could come up and make an impact if we needed to.
What's important to rebuild that system because that's been decimated by.
So
Henry?
Yeah, not Henry, Dombrowski.
Dombrowski traded the whole farm.
Yeah, so I'm really excited for this team because, one, we have cap space to make moves. We have this new, not so ego-driven, talent-driven team. We have a great, grindy team. And I've talked about this in the past. Our friend Julio that we grew up with, Julio Zayas, when him and I played baseball together, and his dad would always bring us to games and stuff. He's like, remember, in Puerto Rico, we play hard, you know? And it's true. Like, you watch these Spanish guys playing in Mexico, Cuba, Puerto Rico, you know, wherever, Guatemala. These guys are playing, like, barefoot with the same wooden bat. They're sharing bats. They're using, you know, it's just, they grew up grinding playing the game because they love the game. They didn't just be like, yeah, man, like, when I'm 19, I'm making $10 million a year. No, they love the game. And I really hope that we bring that chemistry. So that's where I'm at. Let's move on, guys. Huge NFL free agency this year. So much has gone on. I want to ask you guys right now, before we jump specifically into the Patriots stuff, I'm going to ask you a very clear and direct question. Did and has the Patriots won free agency so far across the entire league?
Ooh. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
It's hard not to.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the needs that they had to fill as many needs as they did with the signings, with the money that they did. I mean, just ridiculous. Like giving out guaranteed money, but making it so like it's like
some's bonus based, some salaries based. Like they've really spread out the money. But so let's look at the league first, and we'll break down. You know, so we've seen some really interesting moves. You know, the Matt Stafford for Jared Goff trade. What are some other big ones?
That feels like a long time ago.
Carson Wentz going to the Colts. You know, Brockers has moved. Malcolm Brown has moved. I mean, there's been so much that has gone on. What are some of the biggest trades or free agents besides the Patriots that you thought could be really impactful this year? I mean, obviously, quarterback's the most important position in all of sports.
Yeah, low-key signing for me is Dak going back to the Cowboys. Because I feel like that, for a while, they were like, what is he going to do? I mean, obviously his health is a big concern, but I really like Dak, and I think that, I'm glad that, I thought the Cowboys were gonna like, punt on that, basically, no pun intended, but I thought they were going to screw it up and be like, oh, like, we'll move on, but I think that Dak is a franchise guy, so I'm really glad he brought up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just started with the quarterback position in general, because for the Patriots, I was like, we talk this all the time, I'm all in. All in on who? Anybody. You know, like, get me Carson Wentz, that sounds good. Get me Jameis Winston, that sounds good. Like, everything sounded good, and then we've seen some cool moves. Like, I love Carson Wentz going to the Colts with Frank Reich, his old coach.
And they re-signed T.Y. too, and they also have young receiving core.
Yeah. So, you know,
so many tight ends.
Exactly. I really like that move. Listen, I'm very high on Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff is like the ideal Patriots quarterback. Nothing too flashy, nothing too special. I really wish they kept Golladay because I think he was going to kind of shock the world out in Detroit. Because honestly, besides the Packers, that division's a toss-up. The Vikings have a good quarterback in Cousins, and they got Jefferson, and they got Dalvin Cook. But they're still the Minnesota Vikings. Like, my cousin, one of my best friends growing up, he's a diehard Vikings fan, and he'll say it to this day. You could bring in that whole Bucs roster, put it in a Vikings uniform, and they'd still be 10-6 and not make the playoffs somehow. It just, for some reason, it's like a Vikings curse. But is Matt Stafford in the Rams? Does that make them a contender? I don't know.
With that receiving core, though, and I mean, if they keep they have top defense.
So Reynolds and Jefferson are both free agents still.
Reynolds is already gone. Oh, Everett's gone.
Everett's gone.
Sure Reynolds is gone too.
He hasn't signed. Reynolds hasn't signed yet, I don't think.
Everett's gone. He went to Seattle, right?
Yep. So it's just, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of teams have been very quiet. So since that's I didn't know Mike Davis went to the Falcons. I missed that one. That's a bummer. I'm a huge Mike Davis guy. You know, so looking at everything that's gone on between trades, between signings, the Patriots absolutely won free agency.
They swooped in.
I don't care if they spent all their money on day one, day two. I don't care if they might lose a deal because someone didn't perform to their exact thing. End of the day, we got a bunch of B players, besides Hunter Henry and Jonnu. I think they're upper level tight ends. They're
two of the top tight ends in the league.
Probably both top 10. Hunter Henry's closer to top 5.
Yeah, they went from right now to 2 really good ones.
Yeah, so how can we say that we didn't win the NFL free agency? And none of us like to toot the Patriots' horns. We're all super critical of the Patriots. We're super critical of Belichick and how he's managed things. But let's just run it down. We acquired Trent Brown for a bag of balls. We signed Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, so we addressed wide receiver. And listen, neither one of them are stellar. Kendrick Bourne is a burner. Nelson Aguilar he can play a little bit of everywhere. You know,
he had a really good year last year.
Yeah, no, I do too.
He's
And
young.
you know, Derek Carr is probably the best quarterback he's played with, and he had a good year missing. I think he missed 4 games last year.
Yeah.
And then he had that shoulder injury in the middle of that game that he was lining up in the first quarter.
Mm.
You know, and then you got Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, so we addressed tight end, which is our biggest need.
We over-addressed it, which is beautiful.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
even I still, and I said it all along, I just wanted one tight end to play with Asiasi because we watched Asiasi make that layout goal line, like 40-yard touchdown pass, and I'm like, see, that kid can ball.
And Cam didn't have a tight end last year, which he had Greg Olsen for so many years in Carolina.
Yeah.
It's like
It's a safety net. It's part of the game. And plus, with Josh McDaniels running the offense, like he needs tight end weapons. That's the only way he can run an offense.
And it's crazy to look at. Hunter Henry is Gronk size. Jonnu Smith is Aaron Hernandez size.
Yeah.
And now we can run the 2 tight end set again with some good wide receivers, some pass catching and solid running backs, and a bolstered up line.
Yeah.
So, you know, bringing back Trent Brown, who we really developed and made him flourish, and he went and got paid, and we let him go. I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We're bringing him back. He's arguably the biggest left tackle in the league.
He was hyped about that.
We get to move Isaiah Wynn into left guard. And Isaiah Wynn, when he plays and he's healthy, is phenomenal. I mean, he really is so good, and it sucks he can't stay healthy. So it's a big, we'll write it, a big question mark on him. But this whole line, we bring back Andrews, we bring back Ted Karras. It just, what have we not addressed that we're concerned about?
Yeah, we got Judon, who was part of the top pass rushing, I think, efficiency last
They
year.
brought back Van Noy, which I think, even though he kind
Linebacker.
of talked shit on his way out, I think he said, okay, my bad, like things got
Yeah,
I mean, that
He's a great
solidifies
piece.
inside linebacker, and we had trouble stopping the run last year.
Hightower's come back too.
Hightower.
So now you have
Yeah.
Hightower and Van Noy in the middle. And
Yeah.
even though neither one of them are stellar playmakers, they're smart visually. They can play call. They can see things out. Watch that motion. Watch the screen. Blah blah.
Quarterbacks on defense.
I think Hightower
Exactly.
is like. I think you're not giving enough credit to Hightower because I mean all the biggest plays and like
Yeah,
at least
I mean,
Well, I think over the last few years, he's definitely he's gotten slower, he's gotten older, he's gotten bigger. I think there's rumors that he's dropped a bunch of weight during this offseason too,
he's
after
in
the year
shape.
off. So who knows what could
he
happen?
should be quicker this year.
Who knows?
Yeah. Well, and he's fresh,
Yeah.
right? Like Adrian Peterson came back after his ACL and had a record year. Tom Brady did the same thing. It's a good year to mentally get a break.
Mhm.
You know, you're not studying film, you're not doing this, that, the other thing. You really just need to focus on your body. And when you're not playing for a team, you can focus on your body at 8 a.m., not 5 a.m. You know, it's a little different. So they got a lot of rest. Patrick Chung, thank you, sir. You know, hell of a career. He decided to hang it up. He said he was coming back, and he said, you know what,
Yeah.
I've made enough money. I've had a hell of a career. I'm assuming he'll have a job on the defense if he wants it, just like Gerard Mayo.
We don't.
And I mean, you look at it, we re-signed Jalen Mills. We still have Phillips. We still have McCourty. We still have Duggar. I mean, this defense is literally, it's like positionless basketball.
Yeah.
Except for some of the big guys up front. It's like, all right, Jalen Mills, I want you to stuff the left side of the edge. You know, Duggar, I need you to play middle linebacker. It's like, these are just big athletic bodies. And then on the outside, you know, is that kind of our concern? You know, Gilmore had a down year, granted. We have to address injuries. We can't just say Gilmore's dropped off. He was injured. I think he had a COVID thing too last
We
year.
also need to address how frequent the defense and how quick they were on the field last year because of the offensive struggles.
Yeah.
Like that.
When you're
100%
40-20 possession, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
your
100%.
defense is in trouble.
They were gassed all year.
Yeah.
So I really think, and we were a top 5 defense last year.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
are, arguably, there's no reason why we shouldn't be the number 1 defense this year. If, to your point, we're splitting possession, if not owning possession a little bit more, and not burning out the guys.
Justin Bethel is a low-key, really big signing for them too.
Big special teams guy,
Yeah,
right?
special
Yeah,
teams.
yeah.
And that's, I mean, they still got Slater, right? He's still going in
Yeah.
year 15 or whatever.
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
going,
Yeah.
So.
So let me ask you guys this. Huge offseason so far. Let's start with one question. We'll talk about address what we have done. What is your favorite signing or trade that we have done so far?
I love the Judon signing.
Yeah?
We
We need an edge rush.
We need
and
a pass rush,
yeah.
and we also need someone who's experienced. Like we saw how much Winovich struggled with the run game at the beginning of the year.
Mhm.
I'm excited to have unique edge rushing this year.
Yeah, in the depth. I mean, between Winovich, Uche, Jennings, they were all okay in flashes last year.
Plus
Now we're just
Dietrich Wise too.
and Dietrich came back, and now we get to go deeper, right? We get to do a third down front seven if we want to. So we're really versatile in that way. One thing I do love, just to build off of you, is I love the Godchow signing, because if I think about our best defenses ever is
strong nose tackle.
a strong nose tackle to plug the run, and then you let Seymour or Chandler Jones, you know,
you have to double the center.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I really think about how that big nose tackle can eat up the run, plug some holes, and we can still get the edge rush. And I think that's really,
Then you're getting coverage sacks too, and it's like it's like a domino effect.
Yeah.
really, and when you put that pressure on, now your corners aren't covering for 6, 7, 8 seconds; they're covering for 3
Now
seconds.
let's just play a little more zone freely.
And that's when JC could have 10 interceptions this year, and Gilmore can win the Defensive Player of the Year again, for all we know.
That was a hands down low key like finesse that the Pats did by putting that second round tender on JC or whatever it was. That was such a finesse.
All right, you
no
want
one's picked him up.
You want to overpay him?
Yeah,
we did
go
a second
for it.
rounder.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's like
that was-
it's genius.
That was
And
a
imagine,
very nice finesse move.
and it wouldn't surprise me. I would guess that Bill says, you know, I'd kind of rather the second rounder and let JC go. But if JC stays for $8 million,
We have JC.
great. We have
Yeah,
JC.
exactly,
It's like
exactly.
it really is a win-win, because we both know, or all of us know, there's a strong chance we trade 15 and we draft 3 second-round picks, and like it just. He's like, whatever. I'll take 3 second-round guys. And honestly, who are we? I think we're all going to assume we're not taking a quarterback with 15. It would be the most shocking thing in the world.
Yeah.
Even more shocking than us spending $100 million on day one of free agency. What's it like? What do we need at 15 that's going to address this team this year? There's just. I
well,
feel like
if you look at the outlook for next year at corner, I would assume we draft a high-end corner or someone in the secondary.
You think
Again.
15 seems high for a corner though?
for
If you have Gilmore on his way out and JC potentially on his way out, I don't know if they can do the tender again. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I wouldn't want to use a first round pick on a corner though. I mean, it's funny because like you said, what's our favorite signing? I have to say Cam, because like
wow.
you've changed.
I've
so
come,
much.
Yeah.
I have come full circle on the Cam Newton. Yeah, I just thought about it. I mean, you guys know we recorded it. Like I was really critical on the Patriots last year, and I think it was just an adjustment where it's like we're all coming off of Brady. You know, I got the Brady Tampa Bay Patriots jersey today. We're passing the torch, kind of celebrating Brady's success, and then kind of closing that off. They're coming to Gillette this year. I hope that we have somewhat close to full attendance for that game.
Yeah.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Like probably like all-time sports moment there for sure.
Yeah.
So. But like it's kind of like okay, we acknowledge that we thankful for 20 years of Brady. That's great what he did in Tampa, but now it's like all right, we had a down year, and I think last year was like the best thing that could have happened to the Patriots, because if they were just like 10-6 last year, I don't think we see these moves. I think we're like whatever, but because of what I think what Brady is directly connected to Bill. I think it lit a fire under Bill's ass, because like I think like so much how Jimmy G came in 2014 when Brady was like declining. Brady went on to win what 3 with the past 3 Super Bowls after that.
Yeah, but you made him trade him.
You know,
You made him trade Garoppolo.
But Brady, I don't want to say he got complacent, but when we brought Jimmy in, that was like a guy who like, oh, this guy could take your job. So Brady like lit a fire up under his ass for at that point like 15 years or whatever. He was like, oh, it's my job, like I run New England. And then it was like, well, not so fast. And like I think for Bill it was like a reality check last year, where it was like, oh, you're not just gonna go 13-3, you know. So he was like, oh, I need to like
bolster up this team.
It's
they
not.
spend
So,
more money.
so let me.
So
It's not a reality check. So the problem I have is you're basically restating like how the media portrayed the Pats in the beginning of the year again, where it's like, what's wrong? And Belichick's like, we have no money. Like, why do you have no money, Bill? Like, well, because we tried to win 6 Super Bowls with the best quarterback, and we had to defer money to keep them and keep
yeah,
the
they
team
were
together.
all
But I don't understand, Bill. We don't have any money. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't think there's any such thing as complacency. I think it's just that, like, hey, everyone in the Patriots organization knew next year was a wash, right? Like, we could go 10-6. We could go, if Cam had an MVP year, who fucking knows, right? We could go 13-3 and make a Super Bowl run. Or we could be 2-14, or we could be how we ended up, 7-9. So, like,
That's what I want to ask you. So last year we went 7-9. Cam obviously had a terrible year. We know
had a
that.
terrible end to the year.
Would you say if Cam Newton played the same exact way, just call his stats like borderline identical, or at least visually speaking, the same way,
Okay.
what would you say our record is? Knowing
year?
with this brand new roster, if he plays the same exact way, it has
7-9, 6-10. again.
We were 7-9 last year.
Yeah.
So you're saying with Hunter Henry, with Jonas Smith, Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, the brand new defense, the new offensive line, you think we're still 7-9?
If he plays the same way, yeah, because we still have no passing game. The defense is still on the field more. Like, it's the same outcome.
Okay.
But in theory, we're saying that the defense,
No, we're saying.
But if
We're
Cam,
saying the defense is better, and
No, I see that.
Cam's the same.
I think it would be almost impossible for him to play even
8-9.
remotely close to how bad he was
8 and
last
8.
year.
Yeah.
Like, what do you guys? What you guys answer the question?
I mean, I would say 9-7. I would say because we have a rebolstered line, so our running game should be better. I think the way we're going to, even if Cam throws like the same percentage, call it 60% completion, you know what? Let's just scratch that question because I think we all believe that Cam should be 10-15% better. I don't think Cam Newton's gonna be
That's a
anywhere
good
near
question.
MVP level.
The only if he completes those short passes, those 5-yarders, like those 3-yarders,
Yeah.
the screen passes, like if he completes those, it's a totally different
Talent
conversation.
alone, plus hopefully it looks like Jules is like gearing up to go. So if he's
Well,
even,
Jules isn't with the boys in California. Let's talk about that. So
That's interesting.
for the last few days, we've seen Cam Newton and Jarrett Stidham, our top 2 quarterbacks on the roster, with Kendrick Bourne, N'Keal Harry, Jacoby Myers, Nelson Aguilar, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, Isaiah Zuber's been out there. A bunch of these guys out there, they're all balling. I don't know where they're staying, whether it's at Hunter Henry's house because he's coming from there. Could be staying at Kendrick Bourne's house because he's a San Francisco boy.
That's the point.
I don't know where they're all staying, but they're all hanging out, they're all vibing, and they are grinding every day. And Stidham said in one of his posts, he goes, let's get this stuff out of the way
he said,
now.
let's get the new out of the way because he's like, we want to grind now so that we hit training camp running.
Yeah.
And it's like,
And I mean,
what more could you ask for?
This literally, I mean, this is like a full-blown boner for me.
Yeah.
Like, this is seeing the videos
Kid
of,
show, but yeah.
this is me seeing Brady and Edelman out in the Montana ranch grinding with Alex Guerrero. Like, that's what I'm
the
seeing right
chemistry
now.
we
On the
just
flip
talked about
side-
earlier. It's
On the flip
chemistry.
side, when things started to go south with Brady, it's because he wasn't showing up to those and he wasn't putting in the extra work. So now it's like like I said, we reset. And I see your point, Luke. I just think, as a competitor, I feel like Bill, even if he'll never say, I think he like got remotivated this year because
100%.
because I just think last year was really good that they didn't do as well as maybe they could have because like Bill, like when you're at a job for a while or when like sometimes you just
You're
need like a
complacent.
kick in the ass. Like sometimes you just need to get remote. You need someone to keep you in check or something. And I think Bill, I know he didn't have money, so I'm not saying that he like was giving up or anything, but I just think that he's like, oh, last year sucked. Like I'm sure everyone had a terrible time. Like that team did great for what they had, but I think he was like, you know what? We're gonna get back to having fun. We're gonna get back to filling the holes, and like I just think like he's like hungrier, especially seeing Brady. You have to, as a human being, you have to acknowledge that like he saw Brady win, and he must have been like, oh, I need to get back to that. Like,
So,
okay.
Kyle, what was your favorite signing this offseason?
oh, it's a Cam.
Oh, you did say Cam. Yeah, right. So, for me, it's the tight end duo. I mean, it's always been our consistency. I remember Ben Watson in his prime. I remember Daniel Graham. The Gronk, Hernandez. It's just something we've always had and we've always addressed. Even when Hernandez, was gone for obvious reasons, we were bringing in who was it? Scott Chandler. Like we were just always bringing in guys. We brought in Martellus Bennett. We've always had tight ends, and last year was in the year before really was our worst tight end that we've ever had in the Bill Belichick era.
Yeah.
Whether the Izzo and Lacoste thing. Then last year we drafted 2 guys and neither one could get on the field for whatever. Unfortunately, and then Asiasi showed a little flash at the end. So for me, it's a tight end signings. I think it just changed the dynamic of the game. Even if we roll out Stidham game 1, his comfort level will be 1,000 times better because he has 2 big guys that can catch the ball 5 yards away from them in the middle of the field.
Did you say Stidham game 1?
I'm just saying if we
Okay.
rolled out Stidham,
Yeah,
and you think about the fact that you got 2 big tight ends that can put a block on and release and get you a 5-yard pass, or you have a big corner end zone threat. Like we have a whole different offensive game plan opportunity because of that. And I think that's a game changer, whether it's Cam, whether it's Stidham, whether it's Jimmy, whoever the hell is playing quarterback for us, Mac Jones, whatever, Trey Lance, I don't know. But I think that changes our offensive game plan.
And with 15, we could go receiver too. Who knows, right? Yeah.
Waddle, Jalen Smith might fall. I mean, there's definitely opportunity. So let's talk about the draft a little bit, guys. Let's just start right here. Are we, the New England Patriots, selecting a player at 15, or are we trading?
It's hard to say yes.
I know. I'm gonna say yes, just because. I'm gonna say yes, just because I believe that that's one of the highest picks he's ever had. There's great value there. Like, I know that they've always traded out to get more value in the draft, but I think that
It's usually like 32.
15's tough to pass up with the amount of talent that's gonna be in this draft, and I think 100%. I'm just saying to say 100% we're drafting at 15.
So I think personally that we're gonna trade down depending on a couple of things. We saw Antoine Winfield Jr. this year. For the first half of the season, I mean, he was right in the mix for Rookie of the Year, right? And he fell off a little bit, and then in the playoffs, he was a stud again. There's 2 juniors coming out this year, Asante Samuel Jr. and Patrick Surtain II.
Old friend
2
Thomas.
borderline Hall of Fame cornerbacks. Borderline. Both had some phenomenal years.
Pat's Hall of Fame in my book.
Yeah, he's a Pats Hall of Famer, and Patrick Surtain was really good for the Dolphins for a little while. Both of them have kids that are projected to go in the first round. Asante Samuel obviously has strong ties to the Patriots. I think that if those 2 fall and keep falling, I could see Bill saying, you know what, these guys don't need corners. I'm going to step back to 21, 22, something like that, and grab one of them.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to watch for quarterbacks. Because if Mac Jones somehow falls to the 20s,
Yeah, how can you not?
it's just,
Yeah.
you look at right around 15, right? So let's start at 13. The Chargers have their quarterback. The Vikings could say, hey, Cousins is 31, 32 years
They
old.
should.
Maybe.
They
But
should.
Cousins is still a very good quarterback. I don't care what anyone says.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying based on his track record of not
Yeah,
making the playoffs. That's all.
So then the Cardinals, they're good. The Raiders, I think it's too early to get a backup for Derek Carr. The Dolphins have Tua. The Redskins, the Washington football team, they could be in for a quarterback. The Bears could be in for a quarterback. The Colts aren't taking a quarterback. The Titans,
Didn't Fitzpatrick just sign with Washington?
yeah, but you still need a
Yeah,
developing
yeah.
quarterback. Yeah.
I think they're going forward with Henneke.
I think so too, but I'm saying they
They're
could.
going to draft a quarterback. If
I don't
one's
know about first round,
there. If
but
one's there, 100%.
potentially.
Yeah, maybe.
The Colts, Carson Wentz, I think they're committed to that now. They have to be. The Titans, maybe, because how long do you need to ride the
I
Tannehill
doubt
trade?
it. I think they're going to still ride it.
But he's 30, so it's you could.
But that team works, man.
The Jets, they're drafting at 2, right? The Steelers, they drafted Mason Rudolph. I would guess they're still committed to him to be the next guy, but who knows?
Yeah.
The Jaguars are drafting at 1. The Browns have Baker. The Ravens have Jackson. The Saints, in this mock draft right here, it's saying Mac Jones at 28. That's where I'm saying, if Mac Jones is going to fall down to the 20s,
I don't think he will.
I don't think so either.
I
But
think the BYU quarterback's going to jump him in the draft projections.
Zach Young,
He's
absolutely.
already.
Yeah,
He's already.
He's at like
projected.
2 right now.
Okay.
Yeah. I think Zach Young, Justin Fields, and Trevor Lawrence are guaranteed to go above.
Zach
Wilson, yeah. I don't know why I keep saying Zach Young. Zach Wilson. But then the question mark is Trey Lance and Mac Jones. Trey Lance didn't play football this year because of his conference didn't play football.
Mock draft has him going to the Niners at 3 right now, which
Trey Lance?
Yeah, I think the Niners' recent trade moving up to 3 directly also affects the Patriots because it's the Jimmy G rumors are heating up apparently, but it's why? To me, the Niners are like a mystery to me right now because they're like, we're not trading Jimmy. It's like, well, then why did you just trade up to 3? Because you're either getting a quarterback, either they're rolling with Trey Lance or Zach Wilson if he falls, and then with Jimmy. I guess they could draft a quarterback and still.
What weirds me about that is Kyle Shanahan has always said I could win with any quarterback. Give me an NFL quarterback and I'll win with him. He's a cocky little prick. He's 35 years old, coach. He went to a Super Bowl in his first year, but you still lost the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but also their team was decimated with injuries last year, and they still had top defense.
They're Super Bowl contenders this year.
Also, their defensive coordinator's gone now, right? He's on the Jets.
He's the Jets.
Yeah.
Robert Saleh.
Yeah.
Or Salah, however you say it. So right now, I'm watching that cornerback position because I still think it's a question mark. Gilmore's up after this year. JC didn't get a contract extension. And JC, I don't think he'll ever be a number 1 anyway. He's a good number 2. If we're deep, he's an okay number 1. And outside of JC, it's Jonathan Jones, it's Jason McCourty. It's a lot of question marks.
Yeah, I don't think Jason McCourty been signed yet.
He's not,
Yeah.
but he hasn't signed with anyone. I'm assuming he's coming back
He'll
just to
probably come
Devin
back
ties.
team-friendly.
Yeah, so my thought process is that we should get aggressive at cornerback And
I mean, that's I think too, right? Like
Surtain and Asante Samuel Jr. just make sense to me. They know what the NFL is, right? They grew up on sidelines. They grew up going to games. They grew up seeing their dad's work ethic.
they grew up with Bill.
Exactly. So I think that makes sense at 15 if we draft at 15. I mean, other than that, we're not taking a quarterback at 15. I can't imagine hopefully Matt Jones is there. There's just no way. That's not Bill's style. Hopefully Trey Lance is there. No way.
It's not.
It's a different year and it's a different era. I know, but
I want to shout out to Jared Stidham's editor for his Instagram videos because
she's awesome.
The way that he's got those videos going, man, it makes him look like a damn good quarterback. And like he's I love that him and Cam are working out together too. I feel a lot better about quarterback now than I did a month ago because I would have said Mac Jones 100%. We've talked about Mac Jones in the past, but the latest mock draft has Jalen Waddle from Alabama going to the Pats at 15. I would like that. N'Keal Harry is a question mark where it's like he's been in trade rumors. It's like
I think Harry's gonna have a good year.
I don't know if they need. Well, it's a contract year, right, for him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Patriots depth chart is just so weird at wide receiver, right? Was Jacoby Myers a flash in the pan because he was our only option? And like he never looked
we'll find out this year.
Stellar to me. He really was just the only guy that could get a little bit of space. And he had 80 catches, over 1,000 yards. He threw a touchdown. So you look, Aguilar and Bourne are ahead of Harry for sure. Now, I don't think Bourne's going to be a stud. He's going to be an upgraded Damiere Byrd for me. Yeah, he's going to be an upgraded Byrd. He's a burner, and he's going to create yards after the catch.
Who did we have before that from Indy? Phil Dorsett.
Yeah, better than that. He'll be better. He's younger. He's faster, in my opinion. And then you have Julian Edelman. Is he healthy? Is he all in?
Yeah, where's he gonna be?
If he's all in, then great.
I think you said why isn't he with the boys in California? I think he might still be like getting his.
And he does live in California full time.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
I think he's still getting ready to go, so he's not like because if he gets hurt, let's be honest, if he gets hurt on like a voluntary workout or whatever, then we're gonna be kind of pissed. So
he could still be deciding what he's gonna do. I never thought Jules would retire, but you don't really know. Like
he's been posting
34.
Yeah.
He's been posting like hype videos for all the signings, so I think he's like ready to go.
Okay.
I mean, he should be. His two best friends just won a Super Bowl, and he's not going there anytime soon. So he should be all in. He should say, "I want to beat Tom's ass."
Yeah.
If you have to play against your best friend in the Super Bowl, you're gonna have some fun doing it, and you're gonna want to win.
I don't want to downplay it too, but again, Brady is coming to Gillette this year, so like when you look at the schedule, you got to go, okay, that's a big Jules wants to be out there, 100%.
Yeah, I agree.
That's fair.
You definitely want to beat Tommy coming out here. So. Confidence level of the Patriots right now. Do we think they're a playoff team?
I'm gonna let Luke go first.
Current roster, and we draft a corner, a linebacker. Nothing too impactful.
So Bills still have the division lead.
In your opinion?
In my opinion. What's Miami gonna do? I'm gonna say yes, just because I have question marks about Tua in Miami. And about whether he can lead that team since Fitzpatrick saved him a bunch of times last year. And Fitzpatrick, in my opinion, was the better quarterback last year for the Miami Dolphins.
Do you think the Jets could be a dark horse? I mean, we saw their offensive weapons. Their defense was still pretty good last year. They're going to draft a quarterback. They get a brand new head coach who's a phenomenal defensive coordinator. I'm not saying the Jets are a playoff team this year, but we could split with them for sure.
We can see them make some noise with Salah, at the helm.
I think
if they were getting Trevor Lawrence, yes, but because they did not get the top pick, I think Trevor Lawrence is
that BYU quarterback's going to be
BYU and Fields. I mean, Fields is a baller too. I mean,
it's a good quarterback draft class, honestly. But I just think Lawrence is like so far above everyone else. Where like I think he can change it. Like I think he might change Jacksonville. Like
I agreed. And then I'm just thinking about how many flops there have been and how much hype there has been for these college quarterbacks.
Yeah, of course.
Coming in. I'm worried about Trevor, being that.
He had a weird
He's
COVID
like the
year.
Jacksonville hope right now for changing that entire franchise.
And the worst part,
he's the one quarterback they'll never see. They're basically comparing him to MJ, LeBron in the NBA. Like he's a once in a lifetime quarterback.
And the worst part is
it's a lot of pressure.
He's going to Jacksonville.
Yeah.
He's not going to a rebuilding 49ers or a rebuilding Cardinals. He's going to Jacksonville. That is a dark hole of the NFL. It really is. No one wants to visit Jacksonville because it's a dump. It's a hood. It's riddled with crime. It's gross. The beaches aren't even attractive. You're in Florida and you don't pay payroll taxes and income taxes. Well, that's the only good thing about being a Jacksonville Jaguar.
Isn't it wild to think that they almost beat the Patriots in the AFC title game? Like what?
They were so good that year,
Oh,
though.
They had like a
that
10
defense-
Jalen Ramsey and all
defense
them.
was amazing, yeah.
That was tough. Yeah, sacks.
And they still had Fournette and what was it, Bortles was slinging it that year.
Playoff money. I think he just re-signed with Tampa.
He
last
did.
night.
That's the other team that
So
did
right,
a really good job in free agency.
so right now, pre-draft, and we'll talk about it again after the draft. Are the Bucs still the favorites to win the Super Bowl this year?
Yes.
Yeah, because they're running it back. Everyone that we were talking about, Shaq Barrett and Devin White, and then they just brought back playoff fighting.
So they're full 22, 11 and 11 on each side are coming back next year.
Yeah.
As
Now-
far as you look from the NFC too, yes, they're almost a shoe-in. I don't want to say shoe-in, but they are a heavy favorite to get to the Super Bowl.
They'll
Yeah,
probably
the
be
Packers haven't done much, if anything.
The Saints lost Breeze.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not much out there. I mean, the Cardinals have had a little bit of depth, and they've been
Cardinals
trending
did good.
up.
No, Cardinals did very good in the offseason.
Yeah, they've added some depth to their team. You're no one in the
But, like,
NFC,
yeah.
and even you look at the other side, the Chiefs haven't done much. They kind of restructured their offensive line, and they lost Sammy Watkins. That's
Yeah,
it.
but I think the AFC is way more competitive. I think remember when we looked at the playoff trees from the
Yeah.
AFC and the NFC, we saw it was basically like old versus new
Yeah.
in comparison to like those playoffs.
Yeah, the Brady,
In
Breeze,
regards-
Rodgers,
exactly,
and
in
then
regards to
Mahomes,
quarterback.
Allen,
So
Baker.
I think that the AFC is much more competitive when you're talking about like up and coming quarterbacks.
The
up-and-coming
eight can beat the
team
one type
building.
thing.
Exactly.
The one-
So I think that's going to be interesting to
The one
watch.
thing for me is we don't know what's going on with Russ still. Like, is he getting traded? He says he's gonna get traded. There's rumors, but it's like
With Seattle, yeah, you don't know. Honestly, you don't know how Seattle's going to be this year too. Like
They didn't do anything.
they didn't do
that's what I'm
anything.
saying. Yeah, but I think Russ stays there because I think at the end of the day he's like, all right, let's.
I think they got Carlos Hyde. They re-signed.
But who knows?
Cool. And Chris Carson stayed. But like,
Yeah, they got running back depth.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
really
the Bucs I think are going to be. I think Vicky said you're expecting like 14-2 or something. I think they're going to be much better this year.
But see, for me though, it very rarely works if you bring back the same exact roster. And they haven't re-signed Antonio Brown, which I put a little question mark on that because I think he's a little bit of a game changer for them when he can.
He's Brady's safety net along with
Yeah.
Gronk. Like Brady needs that safety
Now,
net.
granted,
He needs
they
that
do have OJ Howard coming back, and you hope Cameron Brate is healthy the whole season because I think he's a little bit of an X factor for Gronk
trust.
to get open when you run the 2-man split and
Mhm.
whatever. But again, you're bringing back the same exact roster, and that kind of worries me, right? Like if they let Godwin go and brought in Allen Robinson, they're like apples to apples. They're like same player, but just slightly different. Just
Were they 11-5 last year?
11-5 and then
Yeah.
swept the playoffs.
Exactly.
But
So like,
besides
they
the
could be
Washington,
13-3.
They were, I think,
14-2.
7-5, and then they didn't move.
Yeah,
So-
that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Like they're bringing back the same roster with that additional chemistry, with the fact they just won a fucking Super Bowl. Like,
yeah.
and it's still Brady's team.
but they had to play until February 5th. They,
The
had
Super
the
Bowl
big
hangover
high,
is
the Super Bowl hangover. I mean, it is realistic. It's very hard to repeat. No one's repeated since we did in 04,
Who was
right?
our quarterback?
Or whatever it was. Huh?
Who was our quarterback?
You know what? I know. I get it. And listen, I said it all last season. It's not happening for the Bucs this year. It's happening next year. Maybe they're going back to back. Who knows? But
Do you
they
guys-
still have to get through Cam Newton and Bill Belichick.
Do you
I just
guys
think the competition in the NFC is much less for the Bucs this year.
Yeah, I think it's like the top 4 in the rest of the
I
league.
agree because we're forgetting about like the Browns too in the AFC. It's
The
like-
Browns, the Steelers, the Ravens,
AFC
the
is
Bills.
stacked, man. And
Yeah.
KC's still going to be there because Andy Reid's a great coach
And the New
Mahomes is
England
a great quarterback.
Patriots.
And
Do you guys
The
think
Patriots might be in the mix,
Belichick
yeah.
would ever throw a flyer at Antonio Brown again?
that was a Brady move.
Like, I know,
Man,
That was a Brady move.
here's the thing: if he's a free agent come week 4 and Jules isn't playing, maybe,
No.
but not right now.
That was a Brady move.
I don't think they need him, but they didn't need him when they brought him in originally. But
They did. No, they did.
They
need
did
him.
need him.
Yeah,
He was
oh,
that's
yeah,
why.
right. That's why they started.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
they said.
That season would have been totally different with a Antonio Brown playing through the year with
Yeah.
Brady. That year would have been
Because that was the year that
You
Gronk
saw when
retired.
you just see Brady is he takes risks, but as soon as those risks don't pay off or like there's a miscommunication or there's a misread, he needs that safety net. He needs Old Faithful, and that's what Gronk is to him, and that's what Antonio Brown is to him now. We saw Antonio Brown, I think the second game he was with them.
And that's what
He
Leonard
got, like,
Fournette
8
was for him in
targets.
the playoffs.
Exactly,
He
yeah.
became the new James White.
Exactly, yeah. So and they're bringing back all those people. I think Antonio Brown resigns. I think they're just seeing sort of how whatever happens with him. I don't know if he has any more legal issues, but they're probably waiting for whatever that dust to settle, and also like how much money's left over after all they resign their core
You
guys.
mentioned legal issues. Do we want to touch on Deshaun Jackson?
Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun
I mean,
Watson.
I don't want to tarnish anyone's name before. I have this weird conspiracy theory that the Houston Texans owners are just like, I'm gonna give you 10 grand to put this rumor out.
Isn't
you 10 grand.
Isn't it bad that like nowadays it's like immediately there's no innocent to proven guilty anymore either, but there's complete like there's just complete mistrust of any scenario you hear regarding these like
Here's the
allegations like this. It's so strange.
I just always look back to the Kobe days, right? Kobe was married. He got accused of raping this girl who he hooked up with, and he Huh? I know. Rest in peace to Kobe, but Kobe came out and said, I cheated on my wife. It was consensual and it was wrong. I'm 21 years old. I made a big mistake. And he bought her a $5 million diamond after and made it up to her. And, you know, not exactly happily ever after at the end of it, but they had a great marriage after that. And he admitted that he had consensual sex with this woman and she went after her payday. Now, that happens a lot and a lot of it gets hushed under and we don't ever hear about it, but this one's bad. I don't think Deshaun Watson's playing in the NFL.
It's up to like at least 12 different cases now.
It's 16.
Is it? Yeah.
And which also sounds crazy to me. He's good looking. He's making money. He's, from what we see, a very respectable guy, like in the media, on the field. What? You don't need to. Anyway, let's not go down that road. I agree with Lou. That's just not our show.
What do you guys think happens with him?
I don't think he plays in the NFL this year.
You can't with the allegations.
Yeah.
Until it's settled. The NFL will need an investigation.
Did they release him?
No, they're not going to release him. I don't think they'll release him.
So, like, what do they do?
I don't think it'll be NFL suspension. I think they're going to bench him for the year, whatever that means.
No, he'll be away from the team.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Is there like an NFL as like a
NFL always does investigations with this before you can play.
Here's the biggest issue with it right now is that it's a civil suit. It's not a criminal suit. He's not going to do jail time. If somehow he's found guilty, he's just writing paychecks or writing checks to the girls. So it's kind of like if he's not guilty of a crime, like he's not being charged, not going to jail, why does the NFL need to step on the toes? But at the same time, you do have a player misconduct where you are held to a certain level because you're a role model. So it's very weird. It's a touchy subject. It's funny though. ESPN, NFL, Roger Goodell, everyone talked about Deflategate, like blowing it up in our face, suspending Tom Brady within a month, millions of dollars into an investigation. Yeah, millions of dollars in an investigation, and we're hearing very little about this Deshaun Watson thing. So it's just crazy that
the NFL handles these situations so well.
Yeah, right. Anyway, let's move on to the NBA because we're getting a little long here, guys. Trade deadline was Thursday. Very, very quiet until the last 24 hours. So it's kind of crazy. Mm-hmm. Let's just talk about some of the moves. We'll talk about the trade specifically. Then we'll talk about some of the players who were bought out. Obviously, we know Blake Griffin went to the Nets already. What do you guys think was the biggest trade or the best trade that happened so far?
I mean, you have to say the biggest and best was the Vucevic trade to Chicago. I mean, that's a very good.
Now, would you say that that's the biggest and best trade for this year or for the organization for the next few years? Just for me,
for the next few years. Like they made a very big move with a young core, and they have Kobe White at point. They have Zach LaVine at small forward, shooting guard. They have Markkanen at power forward, and now you have Vucevic at center.
You have two
You have solid four. All you need is one other core player, and they can go after a vet like Crowder maybe after this year or something like that. You know what I mean? Like you don't know what's going to happen to fill that void.
So he's a star, dude. He's
a stud offensively, and
he's just the Energizer Bunny. Like he doesn't stop. He's flying for rebounds, flying for block shots.
Now you gotta and we've seen what any great scorer has done with a post game. You think of Kobe and Shaq, and obviously I'm not comparing them, but I'm saying like a big man is very. You see LeBron and AD what they're doing, and like you see without them on the team, that team has struggled mightily. So the inside-outside core is huge to have, and they have that now. And Chicago is going to be interesting next year.
Very interesting.
So that's why I say it's the biggest and best move, because it's not just a trade deadline move. It's to see how the season ends up.
It's a
franchise move.
They're going to be interesting this year, I think. They're only a couple games out of the.
It sucks.
I mean, the East is like
it really sucks for those AC something.
The East really is like it should be wild. I can't wait till like the end of the season, because the East I feel like is just going to be nuts with like the standings.
You know what? I don't know if anybody else is going to say this, but one of the best moves that hasn't gotten a lot of audio time is Norman Powell to Portland.
I was seeing that too, but it's weird because I'm a big Gary Trent guy, and I feel like Powell might be slightly better than Trent, but I don't know if it's as impactful. But it's kind of like the whole Celtics thing. It's just a little shakeup. You know, just a slight roster tweak.
What Portland has done without McCollum, without Nurkic, like it's been incredible.
Yeah,
and now they have everyone back, and you're adding
Nurkic
Powell,
just played last night.
and Melo's playing very good basketball, and
McCollum had 50 the other night,
I know.
didn't he? So it's
No,
like
he had 35 or
Yeah,
something.
he had 30 in the first half, and we finished with 35.
I don't remember.
He had 30 in the first half. He had like
Okay.
7
He
threes.
might
It
have
sounds
or
crazy.
something.
Yeah,
I don't know. But yeah,
You
but
know
that's what
what's-
I'm saying. Like they just added an additional scoring off
And
their bench.
Cantor had 15 and 15 off the bench last night.
Yeah,
Which is
that's-
who's Enes Cantor?
Because Cantor plays. This is my thing. Let's go into Cantor right now because
For a second.
Cantor on the Celtics was so successful when he was on the floor, and he'd get 6 rebounds and 6 points in 10 minutes.
But he'd allow 12 points.
He'd
He
still
just-
be a night. Yeah,
He
but
can't play defense.
he
That's
can't play
the
defense. So what? Your bench
Yeah, yeah.
doesn't always have to play
No,
defense.
no, I
it's a
agree.
balance. It's a balance act. So yeah. But anyway,
So for me, the two most immediate impactful moves was Rajon Rondo going to the Clippers.
Yep.
I think it's just,
lose Lou Will.
but they don't need more scoring. With what they have, they really don't need more scoring. They need a veteran leadership. And
They need
honestly,
a point guard.
Rondo was the low key. He was the unsung hero for the Lakers winning the championship last year.
He was
Pablo
big.
Rondo.
Yeah, I mean, he was phenomenal. He was hitting threes, playing defense, dunking the ball. I mean, he's like 35 years old.
Yeah.
He's just a winner. It's what he does.
Mhm.
The other one, if they can keep him around, is Victor Oladipo going to the Heat.
Mm.
It's just another scoring option that they really don't have. Because Hero and Robinson have been inconsistent. Iguodala's, whatever.
I think he's been injured. He hasn't
Yeah,
played.
but he's just,
Avery
just
Bradley hasn't played. Well,
he
he's
hasn't
gone now.
played. Linux in and out. I mean, it just that move makes so much sense because it alleviates some stress off of Jimmy. Jimmy can just be Jimmy. He doesn't need to be anything more than Jimmy.
Mhm.
Bam doesn't need to be anything more than Bam. You can let Oladipo kind of run some possessions, do his thing.
Jimmy and Oladipo are very similar players, which is terrifying to think about. I think the ball movement on that team is going to be ridiculous.
I think Debo's more of a
Yeah.
scorer.
He is more of a scorer,
They are
but he
similar.
plays defense and he rebounds. And Jimmy can
Jimmy's
get
a
a triple
great
double
guard.
any night he wants. To be honest, like
Yeah.
Jimmy's
I think you'll see that from Oladipo too. Oladipo could average like I'll say like 17, 5 and 5 or some shit like that.
And then you
don't know
still
what you're
have
doing.
you still have the sharpshooters with Hero and
Exactly.
Robinson and
That's
Kendrick Nunn. What a
Yeah.
great decision moving him to the starting guard spot.
Well,
Because
Dragic's been struggling hard.
well, no, Hero started the season at the 1. It was Hero,
that's
Robinson.
true. That's true.
And Hero kind of struggled, and now he's coming off the bench. End of the day, I don't think Hero's a 1 when I watch him play.
I don't either.
I think he's a 2. He's just an
And
undersized
he's
2.
averaging like 20 points off the bench the last few games.
Yeah,
Like,
so
yeah.
it's a good move. Kendrick Nunn is an animal. He's built like a fucking running back,
Mhm.
and he passes the ball so well and plays defense. So I think Nunn is the right guy to play with Depot and Butler. Just push the pace, pass the ball, get back and play defense.
Mhm.
So I think the Heat are a low-key scary threat. I mean, I think we've all chalked up the fact that the Nets should win the East. I still think the Sixers should win the whole thing. I think the Sixers are absolutely built and equipped to win the championship.
Sixers are chugging along without Embiid.
And getting better. I mean, who they just picked up a couple guys too.
That road record still scares me on 13-9.
They picked up another shooter, didn't they?
George Hill.
Yeah. Oh yeah, George Hill, who
You know what's
killed us
weird?
for the Bucks when he was on the Bucks.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Heat, and it seems like I agree with everything you guys said. They've lost 6 in a row.
Oh, and Tony Bradley, right? No, they traded Tony Bradley. Sorry.
Yeah, he'd have been struggling.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the. I mean, the East is just like it's insane. Like,
Well,
it's-
the Heat also won like 9 games in a row.
Yeah. Which got them into the playoffs,
Yeah,
and
so
now
did-
they're like
so
leveling
did
up.
Toronto too. When
Yeah.
Toronto won a bunch and then they lost 9 games. in a row.
That's a big question mark. I'm surprised Toronto didn't shake it up a little bit more. And I
I
agree.
am too.
What's his name? Usiri, is that how you say it? The general manager from
Oh yeah, that sounds right. I don't-
something like that. Great guy, but he kind of said if I couldn't find a deal that Kyle liked and was okay with,
That's respect.
I was gonna do it. We
Yeah.
owed that to him.
Yeah.
And that's amazing because you really don't see that very often. I think they're just kind of saying, and it's weird because Van Fleet, Siakam, like Powell.
And Boucher is great.
And
Boucher
Boucher's
is
been
really
good.
good. I
It
think
just
Boucher is
is-
only
They're still
22.
dangerous. I would be more afraid of the Raptors than the Heat.
I think they're done. I think they're out.
I expected, to be honest, if Lowry didn't get traded for him to be bought out. I just don't think he's that type of player. I think his heart will always be in Toronto. Like
Yeah.
he's even
They're
said it.
saying he's the greatest Raptor of all time, and it seems kind of crazy. But then I guess you think about
He
it.
won him a
Yeah.
championship. He helped them win a championship.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
Kawhi won them a championship, but that core
Hmm.
was great.
Yeah, he was huge.
Now, do you guys see anything else, and we're going to talk about the Celtics and Tommy points, make sure you guys check that out. Is there anything else out there that's really that impactful? I mean, the Mavs getting Nicola Melli and JJ Redick, I think that's a good move because they get some bench shooting.
I wish, why didn't
Dallas has so much shooting. It's so funny. Like, Dallas is very similar to Philly with how their roster is created, where it's like you have Luka and Philly has Ben Simmons, and obviously they don't have as strong as a post presence because Porzingis can stretch the floor, but they're surrounding their point guards with shooters.
Yeah.
Luka's so damn good. Like,
And I mean,
so good.
you look at some of the teams, so the Nets are obviously up against the cap, and they've done everything they can. The Sixers, they did a little bit, so I'm okay with that. But then you look at the Bucks, and it's like, you picked up PJ Tucker, who's just been trending down for the last couple of years.
I think that's still a good move by them.
Maybe. And I like his style of play and what he could do for a good contending team, but I think he's just trending so down, like, in his age. It's just...
He was a very, very impactful player for the Harden Rockets.
Playing as a 6'7" center.
Yeah,
So,
and now you have, I mean, he can, if they go small, he can play center. If they go big, he can play the 3 or the 4 because he can also stretch the floor. And he does compete defensively. So I think it's a very good move for the Bucks. I think that they're doing the right things for supporting Giannis with what they can right now. For, like, step 1 was obviously re-signing Giannis, and then step 2 is trying to get him additional weapons or whatever, and they tried it. They did it with Drew. Who's the power forward they signed? Bobby Portis.
yeah, he's coming off the bench.
Yeah,
He's
they
solid.
got Bobby Portis.
he had a good game against us the other night.
And not Dellavedova, but
Pat Connaughton, DiVincenzo.
DiVincenzo, thank you.
Yeah,
DiVincenzo
he's
stepped
been really
up.
good.
He was starting at the beginning of the year. He stepped up. I think he's still starting. Like, they're doing the right things, and they're just adding a little bit more each time. You know what I mean? It's gonna help.
Not to dive too much into the Celtics though, because I know we'll say that for Tommy points. But do you guys feel a little bit better about the Bucks after the last 2 games? Because I do. Like,
What, that we should play with them?
yeah.
Yeah,
I
well...
mean, they lost at the buzzer. Daniel Theis's last play as in Celtics uniform. And then obviously they won last night. So like for me, like I thought it was Sixers, Nets, Bucks, and they were like it was like them and everyone else, which it kind of is in the East. But now I'm like, oh, maybe the Bucks are kind of closer to us than they are. Like Nets and Sixers, I think are up there, and it's everyone else.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I would say that right now, and we'll talk about the Celtics more, I think the Celtics don't have a ceiling on their head right now. They're sitting on the floor, and it's up to them whether they want to get up or not. So I would say,
That's a good way to put it.
I would say yes. I think they have a better opportunity. I just really like getting Daniel Tice out of the way for Robert Williams. I don't think, and I get what Tice can do for us offensively and his energy on defense. I think his energy on defense makes him a good defensive player, but I don't think he's a naturally gifted defensive player like Robert Williams is. But his energy, I mean, he's a compete guy, and he knows that. So let's not go too deep into the Celtics, but I kind of agree with you that after the Nets and the Sixers, I think the East is a really big toss-up depending on how teams play. The Heat have underperformed and then played really well. The Hornets lost ball, but they won 2 in a row without ball. It's like
they'll slip.
I think they will too eventually. I mean, Hayward's due for something, whatever it is. And I love Gordon Hayward. But outside of that, I mean, the Hawks are up and down. The Knicks, are they overachieving or do they really put together the right roster? I mean, RJ Barrett is one of the most improved players in the league from his rookie year to this year.
He's still very consistent. Julius Randle's
I wanted
Randle's moving that team, and they finally have solid point guards.
I mean,
They drafted quickly, and they have
Derrick Rose and Frank Ntilikina is playing well.
Not quickly. Is it quickly? Oh, that's what we just said.
Quickly's a rookie.
There's another. There's another.
You can look
point
at the
guard.
Knicks roster.
But let me talk about the Bucks for a second. So here's the thing that I have a problem with is we competed with the Bucks for 2 games. Giannis's points were 13 and 16 during those 2 games.
I know.
Yeah, there's the point.
Okay, that is the point. So if Giannis always struggles against the Celtics for some reason. I think it's because we play very good defense, and Giannis tries to play the Celtics game, which is stretch the floor. He's trying to take those open threes. If the Bucks coach, and I think he will, in a 7-game series, if you put the Bucks versus Celtics in a 7-game series, you will see Giannis go to the post more and more, and he will take over that game, and we will have no interior ability to stop him. And the fact that he's added these assist totals to his game this year, and passing the ball he is gonna absolutely tear us apart.
Well, the question is,
it's whether or not the Bucks can commit to playing the right style of basketball against the Celtics. Because we know the Celtics style already. It's going to be trying to beat you from three. That's it. They live and die by the three this year. That's their whole fucking offense. It's not going to change. It's going to get worse with Fournier. That's going to be it.
Oh, somehow, I don't even know how I found this so easily. So Giannis's last 5 games against the Celtics, 26.4 points a game, 12 rebounds, and 5.6 assists. So statistically, he's doing well, but I was surprised at least the last 2 games to see, I don't know, like you said, he usually struggles, but I feel like he's usually like dropping 30 plus on us. So to see him low the last 2 games.
Let's save this stuff for Tommy points a little bit.
Yeah.
So right now, guys, who is your current favorite after this? Actually, let's talk about I have some free agents. We're on Drummond watch. George Niang, he's a Grizzlies guy.
Alfred Payton's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, I just found that. And then Jabari Parker. So those are 3 guys that are bought out in free agents this year. Where are we assuming that Drummond goes? What are your predictions right now?
I hope he comes here. I would feel better about this team if we had Andre.
That's your hope. What's your prediction?
He might go to the Lakers. I mean, God, they're in free fall right now.
LeBron and AD's out.
Yeah,
I'm not worried about
that.
that.
Fine. I'm saying Clippers. I think that makes the most sense for a 1-year deal. He's only going to they'll sign a 1-year deal with the Clips for whatever.
But then you get bird rights and you can extend. You can go over salary cap once you sign him this year.
That's true.
So I think he needs to look at the long term, and I think the lead is such a toss up right now. Does he want to go be the 5th guy with the Nets? Maybe,
And then Knicks too.
Yeah. So like, do you want to be the 5th guy with the Clippers? Do you want to be the 5th guy with the Lakers? I don't know. He's still only 28 years old. For me, I think the Celtics, the Hornets, and the Knicks are the best career move for him.
Mm-hmm.
If he's looking for a career move, if he's looking for a ring, I think you're going to LA or the Nets.
If he's looking for a couple rings, imagine Schroeder, LeBron, AD, Drummond as 4 of your starting 5.
And then you have Harrell and Caldwell Pope, and it's crazy.
Caldwell Pope's had a very down year.
Yeah, I know.
He's
And Kuzma's playing
and
well.
he got that big contract. Didn't he get like 4
Yeah,
years,
stupid.
60 million? He got like a Marcus contract.
Yeah. So I truly think Drummond's going to the Celtics or the Knicks because I think it's the best career move for him. It puts him in the opportunity to win a few rings potentially, and I know we're all down on the Celtics, but I think he becomes a core piece of a team. And the Celtics, he'd be the 3rd option. The Knicks, he'd be the 3rd option. If he goes to the Nets, he's the 5th. The Clippers, maybe the 3rd. Probably the 3rd, but in a weird way. The Lakers, he's the 3rd, but in a weird way. I think he legitimately is the 3rd option if he comes to the Celtics. I think he's legitimately the 3rd
I think
option.
he's the number 1 option if he comes to the Celtics.
You're dreaming.
I would throw it into the paint with him all day.
You're dreaming. But
All day.
Yeah, but how about George Niang? Do you think he has any value? I mean, I've always liked his game, but he's kind of been written off. He'll probably go to someone like the Nets, like someone that's desperate to make the playoffs, looking for depth.
It's just gonna be depth move.
And then Jabari Parker, man. I mean, when he's healthy, he looks okay, but he just can't stay healthy. I have a feeling he's done.
I don't know.
It's gonna be hard for him to find a
He's a
contract
role
this year.
player, I think, but
He was a former number 2 overall pick too. That's what's
yeah, he
crazy.
went very high.
He's a
I
dude.
mean, you can see that what happened with what's his face, your boy that's still unsigned, that you wanted the Celtics to pick up,
Michael Beasley.
Michael Beasley. Yeah,
Beasley.
yeah. I mean, he could disappear.
He would cost us nothing. Give me some Beasley. All right. Who do you guys got right now winning the championship after the trade deadline?
I want to say Portland so bad. I just want Dame to run through the playoffs.
Me too.
So I'm gonna say Portland because I'm gonna put it in the universe and hope that the secret's real.
Team is so good. What's the farthest they got in West Finals?
I don't think they've ever got.
No, they had the Lakers in the second round last year.
Oh man, I love Dame. Dame play.
I mean, right now, I think because it's the best team with a good coach, I think the Philadelphia 76ers are winning the NBA championship. And here's the thing. I am not writing off the Nets by any means because James Harden is right now, he's my MVP of the league. He's just been phenomenal. And those 3 haven't played together very much. But when they have, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
When it's Harden and Kyrie, it's pretty good. When it's Kyrie and Durant, it's pretty good. It's like, it's all pretty good, and they keep adding the right role pieces. I mean, Blake is just kind of 15 minutes off the bench doing his thing, staying out of the way. Jeff Green, Joe Harris. I mean, it really is just working now in Brooklyn right now. But there's just something about this 76ers team. They're big, they can shoot outside, they can play defense. I mean, Ben Simmons, who won Defensive Player of the Year, and Embiid, up until he got hurt, was the front runner for the MVP.
And Tobias Harris is like having
A great year.
He's hasn't been just a supporting cast. He's been almost carrying them while Embiid's been out too. So
It's just,
huge.
I think the 76ers are fully equipped to win it this year. When you look at who they have to play in the West, I mean, AD versus Embiid. Embiid is right there, if not wins that matchup.
They do match up very good with the West.
Harris can cover LeBron and cover Kuzma.
Gobert
Ben
on the
Simmons
Jazz.
can cover LeBron. He can cover Kawhi. He can cover Paul George. It's just, I think they're fully equipped. And guess what? I think he's overrated, but Doc has been to 2 and he's won 1. He's got the
I don't
experience.
know how it can be underrated.
I think he's overrated. I think Doc's
That's what I mean. I don't understand how it can be overrated.
Oh,
Anyway.
Anyway, all right. You guys, anything else on the NBA?
I didn't get my pick yet.
What you got?
I want to come full circle on the Nets, but I think the Jazz. I think they're just having a magical season, and like, man, they're really good. They played the Celtics a couple times. And I'm like, damn,
That's chemistry right there that you're seeing.
Yeah, they're like the best 3-point shooting team in the league. I think. They, like,
Ingles and Bogdanovich.
They
And
have-
Gobert,
they
I think
share the
Gobert
ball
would
like
be
a
a
mother.
You know who should win 6 Man of the Year is Jordan Clarkson. He's been phenomenal for them. He's
What-
so much fun to
I
watch.
said that to you. I think we had a conversation.
Yeah.
I think Jordan Clarkson's gonna be huge.
I told you guys I wanted him going into this offseason.
Yeah.
Because I watched him last year with the Jazz, and I was like, he's going to get paid a little bit, but I think he would be a great guy off the bench for us. And he did get paid again. I think he got like
I
$20
really
million.
like
You know what we
Jazz.
did? I know we did. This is kind of rolling back, but we didn't talk about Aaron Gordon move to Denver.
Because who cares?
I don't know, man. That's an interesting move.
See?
Well, let's save some of this stuff for Tommy Points, and
Okay,
we'll talk
sure.
about some of the things we might have missed on or wish we jumped
We
on.
talked Celtics
All right.
for 50
All right.
now,
Yeah, so I did the 76ers, you got the Jazz.
I'm gonna say Utah, but probably Nets.
All
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm gonna say Portland, but probably the Nets.
right. Guys, that's it for Chasing Rings, the podcast. I don't know what episode it is. It's been a little while since we recorded, but we're glad to be back. We're having fun.
16-ish.
16-ish, something like that, Sweet 16. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you check out some March Madness. They're back at it today, probably right now. I'm not even sure.
240.
240. We appreciate you guys. Thank you.